Hi guys, welcome to today's session. This session is part of our School Leaver programme, Introduction to Fundamental Blow Dry and Styling Techniques, week 2, session number 2. This session will explore everything to do with volumizing hair. We're going to be doing some really great volumizing techniques on this bob shape that I've got here as well. We're also going to be using a dryer, several different kinds of brushes, a nozzle. I've also got an extra styling tool that I'm going to be adding into today's session as well. It's a new one that we've actually just recently purchased for use at the Academy, which will be used once we reopen, when we return. It's the Babyliss Smooth Styler. I'm going to be using it to refine this bob. I've also got a second look to show you some different curl techniques using that great new tool. Okay, so what we've got for today is I'm going to do a blow dry here on this bob-like shape that we've got here. As you can see, I've already shampooed and conditioned it thoroughly. It's got a fringe. It's got a slight graduation of bevel in there, so it's going to help give that little bit of style through there as well. I've got my tools that I'll need. I've got my dryer. I've also got a nozzle attachment. I've got my vent brush, which will be my first brush today. This will create the volume at the root. And I've also got a bristle brush, which will create the texture and the movement at the ends as well. So that's what I'm actually doing today. I'm going to start by working with my product first and foremost. I've got my setting product. I'm going to be working with this volumizing spray. We stocked this at the Academy. It's a really great product. You can work it through mid-lengths to ends and also on the root area. And it's just going to give you that really nice sort of lift. I'm just going to work that through, just section by section. I'm just going to spray it quite lightly, and I'm just working it through the hair as well. So here you can see. And I'm just going to swap my hands. I like to work the product through as evenly as possible. So I'm spraying it at the roots, and then I just work it through like this. So I'm spraying it at the roots, and then the brush then takes that product through. And then I just go through like that. It's going to give me that nice even distribution. Tiny bit for the fringe, make sure you avoid the eyes. I find working with a brush when placing in product really helps distribute the hair nice and evenly. Sorry, distribute the product nice and evenly. Here we go. Oh, sorry. A little bit issue with the dispenser there. That's great. I'm really confident that's going to work enough product through. Now, when we actually begin to blow dry hair, we looked to remove the excess moisture to begin with. I want to remove the excess moisture from the hair, as the hair will take its shape much better once it's near towards around about 80% to 100% dry. So we want to remove a lot of this excess moisture out of the hair. It's not necessary. I tend to typically do that using a wrap dry technique, which I find smooths the hair and can give volume at the same time. But you can also use what we call as a rough dry technique, where you actually use your fingers and the dryer and shake both simultaneously to remove that excess moisture. It really depends on what they do in your salon and what you feel actually works best for you. So I'm going to wrap dry just a little bit just to remove some of this excess moisture from root to ends. And then I'm going to start with the volumizing technique using the vent brush. So I'm just going to wrap dry the hair. You may have seen this already on some of the previous videos. I'm just going to do this quite quickly as soon as I turn my dryer on. You just work the hair side to side. And this just removes that excess moisture that we don't need in the hair. You could rough dry it if you wanted to, but I find this just helps start to create the style that we're actually going to be looking for. I want volume, but I also want it to be smooth as well at the same time. Okay, so I feel that's sufficiently taken out enough moisture in the hair. You can see there's still quite a bit of moisture in there as well because I'm going to be working two different techniques. The first technique will actually dry the roots. Now, typically, we tend to always think if we want to create volume, we work with a round brush. That's not always necessarily the case. We can actually use flat brushes as well as round brushes to create these kind of looks. I personally prefer to use a vent brush. I find that it's gentle on the scalp, so I can pick the hair up using a sweeping motion or a cupping motion, such as the one I'm demonstrating for you now, like this. And that enables me to get right in at the roots, and it's very soft as well. It's not going to really cause any sort of any abrasions to the scalp or any discomfort to the client. Also, the air passes through this vent, hence why it's called a vent brush. And it allows the air to go straight through to the section that's being cupped with the spokes of the brush. I also find it's very, very flexible as well. So I'm going to start by taking sections. I'm going to work through. I'm not going to add any excess volume to the fringe. I find it's got a lot of lift already. You may want to if that's dependent on the blow dry you're creating, but I find there's a lot of natural lift anyway. You always get that from blockheads. They always really spring up at the front. I'm going to take sections just as you would in any normal blow dry. I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to work up through to the sides. I tend to always dry the front first on a blow dry because I like to confirm the look with the client. This again is really dependent on your salon procedures. Typically it is actual normal practice to dry the back first, but I just find from personal experience that I prefer to do it this way because I can confirm the shape with the client before doing all of the back. And then when I get to the front, if they typically didn't like the style I was creating, I'd then have to restyle the whole of the back. But if I just do the first few sections at the front and they see how it's shaping, I confirm that they're happy with it and then I can work through. The motion that I'm going to be creating, you see I've got this section here, I've taken my first section, is a scooping action. So you scoop the hair into the brush. As soon as you scoop it in, like as shown, like this, you're creating that volume because you're lifting the hair up. And then with the application of the hairdryer, that's what creates the volume. I always prefer as well just actually working on a slight diagonal back section. And I pull the hair back away from the face. We don't necessarily want the volume to lift up and then over the face. We want it to lift slightly away. So my dryer and brush are facing away from the face. And this gives me that beautiful lift. So when I smooth the ends, they'll tuck under in on the jaw. And this gives me a very complementary shape, particularly on a bob look. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you now. It's high heat and medium speed. And you just do it till the root area is dry. You can see already we started to create that lift at the root. I'm going to work through the next section. So brush this hair back and then take the next section to be worked on. And this is just going to give you really great volume. And you work up to the parting either side and the same at the back. Really great for fine hair that struggles to achieve that volume. I'm going to establish the centre parting. We're working to a centre parting today. I'm going to dry the fringe. A little bit smoother, not too much volume. Use your mirror to check the shape that you created. I'm going to change hands because I'm working the opposite side. You see, it just gives that nice little bit of lift at the root area, and that's what we're looking for. So you can see just sort of like right from the root you're going to get that lift, and that's really where a volume blow dry gets its root volume from, right from the root. Same into the back. I'm going to use a clip actually at this point. So I've got a clip. The hair's too thick at the back, you see, so I need to clip it away. The section at the back is worked whole, you don't split it. If you split it down the middle you'll get a split in the back and it won't get any volume. So work the section as one. And you're just drying the roots with this technique. And it just helps to give that nice lift. You can see there just on the silhouette. That's what we're getting from this technique. And if you want volume coming straight from the roots, this is quite crucial. Okay, so I've tried the root area now, and I'm just going to show you what we've created here. I'll be able to lift the block up slightly now, so you may get a better visual. You will need to work with your client quite low down in order to achieve this look, but you can see what we've done here is just create that lift at the root, which is just going to really help to elevate the blow dry. So it takes slightly longer than, say, just blast drying the roots, but I find that the results are way more beneficial, especially for someone with very fine hair. Because you're going to get that real big lift that you may be wanting to achieve with this kind of volume and this kind of blow-dried look. I'm going to move on to the second technique that I'm going to show you now. And I'm going to be taking sections. I'm going to be working with a nozzle attachment and a round brush. And I'm going to perform a tension blow dry to smooth the mid-lengths and ends, remove any excess moisture, and tuck them in to create this volume shape. I'm going to go for something quite big, going slightly dramatic as well, just to accentuate the volume that you can create using a blow dry technique. And it's going to sort of tuck in very nicely as well, which is going to be very complementary to this kind of haircut. I'm going to lower the block down slightly. I'm not that tall, unfortunately. Okay. I'm going to now apply a nozzle attachment onto my hairdryer. So I've got my GHD here, excuse me, sorry. There we go, so that's the nozzle attachment. This simply just concentrates the airflow so I can create a smoother effect whilst also lifting and volumizing the hair. I'm going to be working with a medium-sized bristle brush. This also has a nylon. It's a mix of nylon and bristle, this brush, and it's just going to give me that lovely smooth edge. I'm going to just work down each section through to the mid-lengths and ends. The difference being from last week's session is last week when we worked down to create that very smooth edge and ran off the edge, that created a very flat edge. We're going to be lifting up and back. So we're going to lift up to create that volume, still smoothing the cuticle through, but we're also going to be lifting back because we want that shape to go back so then it sits forward and tucks under. We're also going to be beveling the edge. By beveling the edge, what we mean is we're going to curl it like this. We're going to actually curl it in that position. So when it sits, it will lean forward and it will sit under the jaw, which gives us a very complementary shape. I'm going to show you this for you now. So up and back, and then round onto the ends. So up and back. I'm just going to clip this fringe section away. It's getting in my way a little bit and I don't want to include that for the moment. So up and back. And then curl the ends, and then just smooth under. You can start to see already That's the shape we're looking to create. And that's really finished off that volume that we created from the root area. Next section. Ensure your sections are clean. It will help with the final look of the blow dry. I'm just dividing this section into two because it's quite large. Dry the roots just to ensure they're fully dry, and then lift the hair up and back. Turning the brush with my finger and thumb, note that position here, finger and thumb, but turning the brush to create the movement. I keep brushing the hair through as well, just to make sure it's nice and smooth onto the brush. So when the heat hits it, it's going to smooth the cuticle, which is going to create shine. And then concentrate a little bit more on the ends. And then I begin to lay it down where it's going to sit. I'll just hold it there for a second. That's going to set the ends into the position I want them. And then I'll just allow that to set cool there into that position. Working through into the front section now. Again, lift up. Just to create that volume. Nice and high, a high elevation. It's going to give you that lift you're wanting to look for. Working through to those ends. I'm smoothing it slightly. Use your mirror to check your balance. Yeah, that's really cool. It's going to be quite... I'm going to do it really big, just so you can see what you can achieve just by simply blow drying the hair. I'm going to work this section going forward. I'm going to release this clip now. Great. I'm going to work through the fringe. It's quite a thick fringe, so I am going to divide it into two, just to ensure I get that smooth and volumized look throughout. And I'm just going to lift and smooth. Turning the brush, using my fingers and thumb. And that's just going to really smooth out that cuticle whilst achieving lift at the same time. Same on the opposite side. If you've got a wide fringe like this, direct the side sections back like we did with the blow dry of the bob area. It will help to sit nicely onto the face. So when you bring it down, it will sit straight. Lovely, I'm going to work through to the opposite side. You can see that's the shape we created today, nice and big. I've got my section clip, hands are free, so I use my thumbs to hold the dryer and brush. Same on the opposite side. Nice and high. Keep combing the hair with the brush, just to ensure all the hair is smooth before you apply the heat. That will make sure your blow dry has shine. And that's the shape we're creating in the front. I'm going to smooth this fringe slightly. It's a little bit too big for the overall section that I wanted to create. So I'm just very gently, just with the surface of the dryer and the nozzle, just taming it. I'm going to work through to the back section now. I've used 2 clips here. And I've taken the section as a whole, I've not split it, And I'm just going to, again, just ensure that I lift and smooth. A little bit closer. Next section for blow drying. See, we're really starting to create some volume here now. Final section. Make a final assessment now of your blow dry that you have created. So as you can see, this is the final look. Very big, very classic as well, that sort of, and it really accentuates the haircut. This haircut is called a bevel bob, And it's a square line with very low graduation. And what graduation does, for those that aren't cutting yet, it builds weight into hair. So if a client's actually looking for a really volumized bob look, this is the perfect solution because it actually helps create width. Volume necessarily always doesn't come from the roots. It also comes from the mid-lengths and ends. So a lot of times we tend to think about height when we also need to think about width when creating a final style. So this is a very classic version of a volume blow dry using a vent brush, some product in there, and several smoothing techniques. So we used a wrap dry, and then we worked, thank you, thanks for the feedback. We then worked with a vent brush to create volume at the root, and then we worked with smoothing techniques through the mid-lengths and ends, just to create that really nice bevel through there as well. So this would be the final result. However, I'm going to show you one of our newest pieces of equipment, yeah, that's what I want to say, that we've acquired for use at the Academy. And it's the Babyliss Smooth Round Brush. And I'm in love with it. I've been using it for the past few days now. It's a newest edition. It was sent to me by the company to have a try and prepare learners for using it. And I just love it. I loved it on this bob shape as well, which is why I wanted to demonstrate it on this today. I wanted to show you how this tool can actually be used to help smooth out a really nice volume bob. I've also got a longer block, which I'm going to bring on in just a few minutes as well to show you what it can actually do. Now you do need to wear a heat glove when you use this tool. This is the tool, it's the Babyliss, it's called the Smooth Brush, the Babyliss Smooth Brush. It's a hot brush, it's got 3 settings. 160, 180 and 200, 200 represented by red, and then you've got amber here, which is 180, and then 160, which is, well, it's kind of amber, and then yellow, amber and red. I'm going to be working on red today, so I'm going to be working quite quickly. And it's got 2 motions, clockwise and anti-clockwise. So that's how it basically works. So you go one way, and you can go another way. Now, I love gadgets. I'm really into hair gadgets. I have a lot of stuff that I've collected over the years. Some of it I look at now and think, wow, why did I buy that? But I kind of love this because I think it's really cool because you can use it just like on a bob. Like now, what we could do is we could comb the hair and it's already heating it. Make sure and then just go through and just actually, that's heating the hair at 200 degrees. So it won't need to be on there very long. And it's just going to really help to give us that. It's going to smooth the cuticles even further. So now we're going to create even more shine. I don't think I can catch the light there. And can you see the upper side? Already we can see there's a difference. So it's just enhancing that blow dry. And I think if you can add an enhancement onto any blow dry service, go for it. And this will be a tool that I would use to enhance a blow dry. Yes, I'd do a beautiful blow dry for my client, but then I would mention, I'd say to my client, I'm going to use this tool today, and I explain the benefits of what it's actually going to create. So I'm actually working through the section with the heat glove on. You can work very, very high and then wind down onto the section. I can keep rotating at this length. It's not going to get caught up in the brush. So I'm actually working through. Yeah, I love it too, actually. Yeah, and it's creating sort of. It looks really cool on longer hair. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. It's actually really starting to elevate that blow dry even higher. We're getting some pretty big volume now. I'm going to work these sections backwards because when you work them forward, they're going to curl a little bit too much. So really, I probably should have. I might reset that one in a second, actually. Just actually work backwards to start it back like this. You can wind out as well. Like if you wound too close to the roots, you could obviously press the opposite button and wind back. But I just really love it. I love anything that's sort of new. I'm always sceptical at first, but then when I get to play with it and I love it, then I'm in. So I'm just gonna reset this little bit here. It's really great just to polish any blow dry with. And it's just going to give me that. You can already see, I mean, it was pretty big before, but it's getting even bigger now. And I'm just going to work this final section through the top. I'm going to do this at very high elevation. So I'm going to wind straight down onto the base. Smooth any, you might get some hairs. This is why you need a heat glove on as well. You might need to smooth some hair in. Just leave it for a few seconds. You can wind out if you like as well, and then just work that through. So as you can see, I'm just going to pop that down for a second. If I just take my vent brush and just smooth that, we've created something that's going to seal the ends. So it's actually going to really seal that blow dry in. And if I worked with an after product, like a hairspray, this would also seal the ends of the hair and mid-lengths and ends, and it would also provide that extra level of protection and longevity to the blow dry. So that's one side, and you can see actually how it's neatly just tucked those areas in. And look at the other side, it's a little bit more looser. So this has actually helped encourage that little bit, and it's got better shine to it as well. It's actually giving it a better shine. So again, it's just going to give you that different kind of blow dry. I like the more natural look actually a blow dry gives you, but this is also, again, a fun tool to use. I've got a different version actually. I'm going to take this off now. Excuse me, one sec. Let's give it a bit of a pull. What I've actually got for you here is a longer version. Now I've already dressed this side out. I've already done one side. On a long block, it gives you a very smooth bend like this. Can you see? So I've dressed all this out, but it gives you this lovely volume at the root. So this is working on the diagonal. So I've actually just worked with a very soft, I love this because it gives you that kind of really lived in sort of look. Those clients that maybe want a little bit of bouncy blow dry kind of look, but they don't want to commit to that really curly kind of shape, I think this is really cool for them. And it would look amazing on a really long hair, really long, because it would actually start to do this on really long hair. I'm talking below elbow, which a lot of clients have now. You know, we work more and more on clients with very long hair. So I've got the tool. Naturally, I can go two different ways. So I worked horizontally on the first section. I'm going to work vertically now, and I'm going to create more of a curl. I'm just going to take the hair in, and I'm just brushing it at first, and then work down at the bottom, wrap it round onto itself, and then wrap up towards the roots. As you can see here, again, I'm sort of creating a little bit of volume. I'm just going to do two sections and shake it out. But again, it just sort of creates that like really soft, but with volume. So you get the volume and a little bit of movement without having to have too much curl. Because I find that sometimes clients are like, oh, it's too curly, when you're doing like a curly blow dry or a tongue blow dry. Just going to wind that out a little bit. And what I actually found is I'm just twisting the section as I'm pulling it out. And what it's giving me, it's giving me that. It's giving me this very soft, almost bend-like shape, which I find loads of clients, they just love. They don't necessarily want curls, they want something a little bit softer. I'm actually using the tool to brush the hair as well. I found as long as I wasn't working too close to the roots, this was also a great way to actually work with the tool. I'm just actually now working down onto the section, and I'm just setting that in place. And you just give it a shake. You could spray that into place, but it does drop out very loose. It is just a bend, but I love this. It would look really great on hair extensions as well, but you would have to be careful because obviously it's a comb attachment. So make sure they're thoroughly combed first, and don't wind all the way up to the root. Just wind down as well. And work on a lower heat temperature. This is on 200. This is very resistant hair. Very heat resistant. So that's why I have to work a little bit longer on the actual section. Okay, so wind out, and then I'm twisting that section through. And it's just giving me that. I love it. I'm going to switch it off now because I find it's great to refresh a blow dry with it. You know, you could spray it a little bit. Again, working with that after product is going to help with longevity. I allowed that to set, and then I actually teased it out just to give sort of that kind of look. But imagine what would happen is if this was much longer, you would get this smooth look, and then it would start to do this. We see this a lot on Instagram with you know, hair that's very smooth, and then it starts to create movement towards, say if it was about here, you would really start to see that come through and it would play much better. But what I love about the tool is the height it's giving me at the roots. And I find that this is going to be, one of those tools that clients are going to want to maybe even purchase for themselves. Not quite sure how much this was. I could find out if anyone is interested as well. I'm just going to actually dress this just for a few minutes, just to see what shapes I can create. Yeah. Side parting as well. I probably want a few. She's got quite fine ends as well. It's been quite bleachable. But that's sort of what we're creating here as well. Again, that very lived in, bouncy blow dry look. Not too sort of shade for there as well. So yes, that's one of the new tools that we've got at the Academy. We've got a couple of those in stock as well. I'll make sure I'll bring this one back with me when we're. I actually, my hair's quite long. It's curly at the moment, but I actually on Saturday had to go with mine, and it's about here actually when it's not. Excuse me, when it's not curly. And I actually did have a go with it on mine, and it creates some beautiful volume, and you can go really close to the root without causing any heat damage, or it doesn't hurt. Okay, so these are our 2 looks for today. There's a quiz on Pivot Point for those learners undertaking the Fundamental Blow Dry and Styling Techniques course. It's just 5 questions. There's also some video tutorials on volume blow drying techniques. And yeah, these were the techniques for today. Next week, you will find I will have already pre-recorded my session for the Fundamental Blow Dry Techniques. It's a hot tools training session. It will already be on there by next week. So when you log on and you go onto your Pivot Point resource and you go into your class, those school leavers that are undertaking the, stop playing, those learners that are undertaking the Pivot Point Fundamental Blow Dry and Styling Techniques course, I will have pre-recorded my session for next week because I'm actually having some holiday time, and also for the week after as well, which is a hair up class. There'll also be 2 quizzes for you to answer. When I come back, I'll mark everybody's results and I'll award you certificates as well. So it'll be your first Michael John certificate with us for those 2020 school leavers. We're very excited for those that have been undertaking the learning and the course with us. It's really great as well. I'm going to be here tomorrow doing a cutting class on Thursday and also on Friday, so you can catch me then as well if you want to join in. Feel free. That is the alternative cutting program sessions 2 and 3. And I'm going to be working with thinning scissors tomorrow. Yeah, I love this too. It's really cool, isn't it? Yeah, thanks for the feedback. I'm going to be working with thinning scissors tomorrow, creating a restyle using a very textured look. Okay, I'm going to sign off for now. Lovely to teach you as always. Stay safe. If you've got any comments, questions, or feedback, feel free to DM us at mjts_Manchester. And I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.